Coming up on this episode of Hip Hop Now podcast, my written review of the Biggie documentary, The Life of the Notorious B.I.G. I give you my thoughts on the Loaded Lux versus Arsonal rap battle, and Kanye West is holding up the new Pusha T album.
But let's get right to the business.
Read these headlines. This album must be gone. This album must be gone.
Classic album.
Come to Hip Hop Podcast.
What up, y'all? I am your host, Vegas, and this is Hip Hop Now Podcast, a podcast designed to catch you up on all things hip-hop music and culture that happened throughout the week. I welcome all listeners. Returning listeners, what up? New listeners, I'm glad you're here. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share it with people you know would enjoy this content as well. You can follow me on social media at Vegas World INC, that being Instagram, Twitter, or Snapchat. If Facebook is what you like, facebook.com/hip hop right now. I not only post this podcast, but I also post stories and videos and audio of things I find across the net. You know, it's kind of like a sharing type thing. I don't know. I may open it up to everyone, but I don't want to get into the situation of having to moderate. So I don't know, because you know how it go down, man. You got some trolls. Some people want to post some crazy things like Chinese food, being dogs, and all that. And I'm not trying to ban anybody. So maybe in a controlled environment, maybe. Also, if you don't know, I got a YouTube channel called The B-Roll Network. That's the letter B, R-O-L-E Network on YouTube, where you can not only find my series One to Flow On, where I talk about certain hip-hop topics loosely. I also have another series where I play video games and talk about hip-hop, and that's called The Rap Game. The latest video features me trying to play NBA 2K17, my career, while I talk about my thoughts on Sean Price's album, Skyzoo's EP, and Action Bronson's new album, Blue Chips 7000. Check it out. B-Roll Network, subscribe today. But let's get right into the business at hand. First of all, I want to say a big shout out to hiphopdx.com, where I'm getting some of these stories from. Earth Gang has signed with Dreamville Records, and they dropped a new EP entitled Rags, which I had the opportunity to check out this morning, actually, and it's okay. I can't say I'm a big fan of Earth Gang. I don't dislike them, but I don't really have a big affection for them or affinity for them, only because I only really heard their debut, and I didn't hear anything after that. At least I don't believe I did. But the debut was pretty dope, so you might want to check that out. But them signing to J. Cole's Dreamville is a good look. I think it's a good addition. I don't think his label gets as much attention as it should. It's a lot of dope MCs over there. You should check them out. Honestly, it's a lot of dope MCs over there. RZA thinks new MCs need to step it up. Every week, man. Every week we got these dudes coming in. In an interview with Hot 97, he had this to say, and I quote, "I would advise any MC who is coming on as a MC, or as they call it, a rapper, to definitely strive to have powerful bars, great lyrics. Because even a singer strives to become a better singer, a guitar player strives to become a better guitar player. You know what I mean?" No, he didn't say it like that. He said, you know what I mean? I think that it's important for their longevity and for them to recognize at one point in life, whether it's Marvin Gaye, Bob Dylan, Nat King Cole, as far as we can go back, sometimes the artist's voice become the voice of the time, the voice of the world. It's important that they recognize that they are making a soundtrack of our generation. I think for you young cats who may be listening, I think, and I don't think this is the derogatory term when you call somebody an old head. It's whatever. But I think that's the best way old heads, and I'm putting up the quotations, can talk to the younger generation, to be honest, in regards to the rappers. Because of the simple fact that he's not hating. He's just saying, care more about your art. He's not saying, yo, your art isn't good enough, which a lot of dudes have basically said that, dudes, step it up, step it up, step it up. He's saying step it up in the same way, but more of it's constructive criticism. You know what I'm saying? It's more like, care more about your lyrics. The next time, I don't care about what you've written in the past or currently have out there. But the next time you go in the booth, the next time you write, care more about your art. Care about being the icon you claim to be right now, because it goes a long way. And I can't echo that sentiment anymore, because the honesty behind some of these younger cats is the fact that they're not going to be around for a long time. They are a dime a dozen. And what's going to separate some of them from the pack, and it's already separated some of them, is the fact that they're going to care more about their music. We say the names all the time: J. Cole, Kendrick, you know what I'm saying? You can even look at Childish Gambino, Chance, the rapper, even though for some people he's new, but he's not really that new. These dudes are going to have longevity because they really care about their art, you know what I'm saying? And they really go into each album thinking about that. I can understand first out the gate you trying to be that dude. Everybody has to tell their story the way they want to tell it the first way out the gate. But just imagine you discovering one of these dudes who, you may look at Lil Uzi Vert like, that dude is complete trash. Why would I ever like anything he does? But when his star starts to fade a little bit, maybe he starts to shed some of that, and maybe he starts to talk more about himself in depth. You know what I'm saying? Maybe his rhyme style changes. He is from Philly. You never know what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? It's happened before. So all I can say is, take that however you're going to take it. Now, let's be clear. Some dudes are just whack and just don't have it. Not everybody can freestyle, so I don't really get on them too much about that, because some of the greatest rappers of all time can't freestyle. But at the end of the day, you got to show that you got something more than just being a gimmick, because after a while, gimmicks get old. And you wind up on one of them shows, like one of them shows like back in the 90s or back in the 80s, and then you see things you haven't seen in a while, and you're like, damn, what happened to him? Until you see him on Unsung, and like, damn, he drugged out, he ain't got no money, blah, blah, blah. This was a little long-winded. Meek Mill announces Wins and Losses Deluxe Edition. Come on, man, don't mess it up, fam. Don't mess it up. Don't mess it up. I really like Meek Mill's new album. I listened to it. I think Meek Mill is 2 for 3, I should say. I didn't really feel his debut album as much as the Dream Chaser mixtapes, but the album, the album that came out around back to back, I thought it was dope. But I think that he kind of smothered it with this whole Drake thing and going at Drake. And this one is dope, but I think there are people who look at him in a certain light now because of everything that's transpired. And I look at the music. And if the music is dope, if the beats is hot, the concepts is there, the bars is there, the energy is there, I would be a hater to ignore it. You know what I'm saying? If it's dope. Speaking of dope, for the ladies, Rhapsody has announced that her Rock Nation debut album, not her debut album, but her Rock Nation debut album, what is this? Layla's Wisdom is coming out soon. She has a new single called You Should Know, featuring Busta Rhymes. Sorry, I haven't heard any of it. Rhapsody is pretty dope. I'm not going to hit play because I could hit play on it right now, but I ain't trying to get my whole podcast shut down. But the album is due to drop this month, September 22nd. If you're in the future, it's probably out already. I'm going to tell you like this, man. Rhapsody is pretty dope. I just really hope they don't mess this up, because sometimes sometimes an artist like that moving to a bigger label does it justice. You know what I'm saying? Just makes them bigger than what they already was. And then sometimes it just doesn't work because maybe the label doesn't know how to market her, promote her, or maybe sometimes they get away from what made her dope and popular. Like, for example, on Rock Nation. I felt like with the first J. Cole album, they wanted so bad for J. Cole to be another Drake, or at least a close, similar alternative to Drake, and that is not who J. Cole was. Now, on the second album, Born Sinner, and Forest Hills Drive after that, that's the J. Cole we know and love. And that's why those albums were critically successful and financially successful, because you were giving us the J. Cole we grew to know and love. Same thing with Rhapsody. Rhapsody got a couple of dope mixtapes, a couple of dope albums out, and to me, is not only her subject matter, which makes it dope, because for one, a lot of the female artists that are in the spotlight, let's just say there's 3 of them as far as mainstream. There's Cardi B, who only has a song. Trust me, it ain't gonna be crazy unless she gets some crazy ghostwriters. Then there's Nicki Minaj. We all know how that goes. Where's she at? Her lane, is she in that Barbie lane or whatever that is? And then there's Remy Ma, who's a little bit more hard edge, hardcore, but her subject matter tends to be the same, which I'm not complaining about, but Rhapsody's a whole nother level. Rhapsody can talk about relationships, and me as a male not feel like I'm being on the outside. And she doesn't talk about it from dudes ain't this, dudes ain't that. Not all the time, but she's very vulnerable in her storytelling. And that's not the only thing she talks about, but I'm saying listening to a Rhapsody album, you get to know her. And that's what it's all about. Didn't RZA just say that? You know what I'm saying? That's what it's all about. So I'm looking forward to it, September 22nd. I'm just hoping. Oh, the other thing with Rhapsody, right? The beats. Her beats are always kind of nuts. Whether that be beats by Premier. I think she's worked with Alchemist. I'm not sure, but she should. Ninth Wonder, of course, and a number of other, I think, Knots. She's worked with some really dope producers that take these types of songs that I mentioned and give them these dope backdrops or music beds, basically. Well, music beds is a little bit much, but give it these dope soundtracks to her stories and her lyrics, and it always comes out dope. You know what I'm saying? So you really can't be mad at that. I'm just hoping they don't fumble the ball on this. I have a little bit of confidence. I mean, Jay-Z just kind of put out a Rhapsody type album with 444. So hopefully they don't say, hey, you be more sexy and you talk about this. Please don't do that. Audio Push just dropped a new album, 12 tracks. It's called Last Lights Left. If you've never heard of Audio Push, this is a really dope group. People just say, yo, hip-hop groups don't exist anymore. Yes, they do. I named one earlier. That's Earth Gang, which is a group. There's also Audio Push, and they're pretty dope, and they could do everything. You know who they remind me of? Not in rhyme style, but just sometimes in beat selection. The way Joey Badass was. You know, he would make a lot of music that felt like 90s. They do that also from time to time in their selection, but their selection of beats, whereas Joey Badass' selection of beats reminded you of Boot Camp Click, obviously because of Duck Down Records and his affiliation. But Audio Push reminds you more of Tribe. And they not all the time, not saying you're going to go there and you hear, you know, Q-Tip and Fife style and, you know, J Dilla beats and Q-Tip beats. It's a little bit, it's not a copy of them. It's just they somewhat remind me of that on a couple of projects that they put out, not all of them. I haven't had the opportunity to check it out, but I most definitely will. Pusha T says that Kanye West's perfectionism is holding up the King Push album. And I quote, "When you on your rap superhero-ish, you get the luxury of taking your time." Come on, man. Come on, Pusha T. You and Nas. Nas album done, but where that? Pusha T, King Push coming, a mixtape drops, King Push doesn't come out. Come on, man. The problem I have, I don't have no problem with Kanye West making sure this is dope, because I believed his Pusha T's first solo album, which initially I wasn't that big on because I guess I had an expectation that wasn't met. But then as I listened to it over time, I grew to really, really like it. With Kanye, with this whole perfecting and blah, 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 that's why I didn't like The Life of Pablo. Because it sounded like it was, someone who was uncertain of where they wanted to go. And that's, okay, I get it. It was supposed to be like a painting that he's constantly working on and blah, 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 blah. Whatever, man. I didn't fall for that. The thing was, I didn't like it. I thought it was kind of whack. Not his wackest, but I thought it was kind of whack, except for a couple of songs. But don't do this to Pusha T, man. Because you know what happens? People forget that he's even doing this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it starts to get to the point where, because it took the first album a minute to come out, it starts to get to a point where he's not as active as he should be. So therefore, the anticipation isn't really going to be there because there's a bunch of people jumping in that lane. And they're going to mess around and drop this Pusha T album out, and somebody big going to come out like a Nas or, the Wu-Tang featuring Biggie Smoke. I'm just playing. But you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's going to get drowned out. It's kind of what happened to Joey Badass in a sense. He dropped the week Kendrick was supposed to drop. And a lot of people ignored his album because they were waiting for Kendrick. And their albums were similar in some sense as far as, subject matter. And I kind of felt bad because Joey Badass' album, American Badass, is really dope. But a lot of people don't hear it or won't hear it. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. Looking forward to whenever that comes out. Honestly, if I had to bet, I think that King Push album isn't coming out to 2018 or something crazy like that. I sometimes in the gym will do a bunch of cardio on the machines, right? So what I like to do, this is hip hop related, don't worry. What I like to do, I can't listen to music because my eyes start to wander and I start to look at the time and I'm like, damn, how long have I been on this thing? So I like to watch videos. And I had this video sitting on my watch later list for a minute. It's the Loaded Lux versus Arsonal rap battle. This was Arsonal's retirement battle that he wanted because he never battled Loaded Lux and he wanted to. If you don't watch battle rap, let me just give you a quick rundown. These are two legends in the game, like legends in the battle game. To the battle rap community, these are legends in the game, right? Loaded Lux and Arsonal. Retirement match for Arsonal, right? The rap battles go like this. There are 3 rounds. Coin flip to see who go first and all of that. They have a certain amount of time. I'm not sure how much the time is, but who cares? They have a certain amount of time to spit their joint. There's no beat. It's just mano y mano, a cappella. Sometimes dudes rhyme in a rhythm. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they go in and out. It's all about schemes and punchlines and personals, you know what I'm saying, and flips and remixes and all of that. It's about the art of rapping, right? So there you go. There's your primer for this. I'm just going to give you my score right out the back and I'll tell you what happened. All right, so I think it's a tie. Yeah, man, I think it's a tie. I think the first round was very debatable. I think the second round was more Loaded Lux. All right, maybe the first round was more Arsonal. All right. The second round was the debatable round. And then the third round, I believe, belong to Loaded Lux. Mainly because for both of them, they had some strong points in their rounds, but then they would fade as far as the bars and the punches and the rhythm and stuff like that. It was never really consistent throughout. Loaded Lux felt like he was kind of warming up. By the third round, he was in total control, if you ask me. I think with Arsonal, and the reason why I wasn't always the biggest fan of him is Loaded Lux kind of called what he would do before he did it. And it was a lot of, yelling to get his point across. And sometimes, see, the problem sometimes when you yell that point across, if those punches, those punchlines aren't punchy enough, then you're just yelling. And you kind of look stupid. And not to say that he looked stupid because he had bars. He didn't look stupid at all. It's just that it didn't come out the way, he probably intended with some of the lines. Some lines he was on point. Third round, he had some joints. Even second round, he had some joints. But I think Loaded Lux's command of the stage, like the whole master of ceremonies, not really playing to the crowd. More so performance, confidence in that performance, confidence in what's being set up. Like he had some memorable lines, like when he was with the Father's Day joint. Like I don't even have it where I could remember because I watched it like a week ago or whatever. But I think it's definitely worth checking out for any hip hop fan. Like I'll say this, right? If you've never watched battle rap, there's a number of battles that I could put you on to. But for this one in particular, I think it's worth you watching for the first time to discover what battle rap is. Because I feel like a lot of what they said was clear. You didn't have to be embedded into the battle rap community to understand, because that happens a lot with a lot of battles where I think it kind of takes away from it. But that's neither here nor there. This battle is easy for someone who is just coming to the scene to figure out who are these guys and why do we care. I think this battle you could watch, and I believe it was a tie. I believe that there was definitely some dope bars on each side, some jabs, some personals, but I don't think there was a clear winner. So I don't know. What do you think? If you saw the battle, leave your comments in the comment section. Let me know what you thought. Maybe I'll link the battle. No, I'm not giving them no. Okay, maybe I'll link the battle in my description, therefore, on SoundCloud. Therefore, you could go and watch it, you know what I'm saying, and let me know your thoughts. Westside Gunn and MF Doom are combining to form Westside Doom. It's an upcoming album produced entirely by Alchemist. Wait a minute. Hold on. Look, I'm not the biggest Doom fan or the biggest Conway fan. I'm just coming back to Conway, but this sounds pretty dope. And I think what seals the deal for me personally is the fact that it's produced entirely by Alchemist. Because now they don't give a date. But yeah, man, if you fans of any of them, you got to be looking forward to this, because it's pretty dope. And lastly, before I get into my review of the documentary real quick, that Wu-Tang album, not that one, not the one that's coming, and not the Ghostface one, but the other one that Martin Shkreli or whatever his name is bought once upon a time in Shaolin, is up for auction on eBay. So if you got the bread, go buy that joint. But I'm going to tell you right now, like I said in last week's podcast, the ratio isn't great. So I don't know. I don't know what that album sounds like, fam. I don't know. I don't know what it sounds like. Now, real quick, on the shadowleague.com, if you know me, I have written articles for them around hip hop, a couple of reviews, a couple of look backs at albums. We'll probably have one coming up because there's an anniversary coming up that I think I should talk about. But recently, I wrote a review. I got an early copy and was able to watch A&E's Biggie Smalls, The Life of the Notorious B.I.G. I believe that's the title. You can check out my review on theshadowleague.com. But all in all, for those who, may not read that often, the documentary is dope, right? Not just for Biggie fans. No, this is what it's called. It's called Biggie, The Life of the Notorious B.I.G. Basically, same thing I said. It's dope for a number of reasons. It's not just hot because it's for Biggie fans. It's for people who know of Biggie, but maybe aren't the biggest fans. People who heard of Biggie, but never really known anything about him, much about his music, anything of that nature. It is literally the best documentary, even better than the Notorious movie. It's the best insight into who Biggie was growing up as a person, what inspired his music, the people in his life, the relationships, and all of it, and how it all obviously all came to an end in 1997 when he was murdered. It focuses on not only his mother telling her stories, but Faith, Jay-Z, Nas, Mr. C, a number of people, of course, Puff Daddy. And it's the first authorized by his estate documentary, and therefore it gives you a deeper look into his life and his music. And what I really liked about it was the style of it. You know what I'm saying? They started from the beginning. There was a lot of photos there, some of which we've seen before, some we haven't seen. There was a lot of video footage that I've never seen before. Like, for example, a video of Biggie from like 1989 rapping in the camera, and it got a flat top. And it's just candid moments like that that makes you connect with him to say, damn, everybody always said this about him, but now I know this is what he was about. And it focuses on a lot of his relationships, his relationship with Faith, of course, his mother, Lil C's, a number of people. And you really walk away from the documentary feeling like you know this dude on a number of levels. And it's pretty dope. So again, check it out on demand or when it comes back on again, or you can check out my review, of course, which will be in the description, link in the description, theshadowleague.com. That's going to do it for me for this week. You can follow me on social media at Vegas World INC is the handle, at Vegas World INC. Don't forget, check out my channel and subscribe to the B-Roll Network, the letter B, ROLE Network on YouTube for more hip-hop, video games, whole bunch of stuff. It's a whole bunch of stuff there. Who knows? And again, y'all, we do this for the love of hip-hop. So therefore, share it with people who care about this art form, this culture that we care about. Until next week, y'all, I am not a critic. I'm a fan. Peace. Drop it on the random.